Canada has a bold goal, 100% zero-emission vehicle sales by 2035, but there is a problem. While our demand is poised to surge, our charging grid is still playing catch-up. Meanwhile, across the Pacific, China has built the world's most dense charging network, and with Canada willing to spend on EV charging, things are about to get very interesting. First up is speed. I'm a huge proponent of building the fastest charging equipment that you can put into the ground. Not so much building out charging just to say you're building charging, but future-proof it in many ways. In Canada, a lot of our public infrastructure mostly relies on level 2, so that would be more like your home charging, slower speed equipment. And in terms of the DC charging, we're mostly a medium speed, low to medium speed country. So that means chargers at 50 kilowatts, 100 kilowatts, 150, 180. We're really lacking the ultra high speed stuff, so 300-400 kilowatts. Although there are a few sites that do have those deployed, but not very common. However, earlier this month, BYD debuted their 1.5 megawatt flash charging architecture. I'm talking about 10 to a 70% state of charge in about 5 minutes, and even crazier, 10 to 100% state of charge in 9 minutes. And a lot of you are going to be asking, well, that's all fine with a nice hot battery and perfect summertime or autumn temperatures. What about the winter time? Well, at minus 30, you're still looking at a 10 to 100% time in about 12 minutes. Can you imagine this in Canada? Can you imagine watching one of my videos where I have a vehicle that can support flash charging and I'm out of there with pretty much a full battery in 12 minutes? You will never hear me complaining about EV charging again. So I think by bringing flash charging tech to Canada, especially the highways, especially the trunk routes, either through joint ventures with stores, fuel companies, or even just going at it alone, you can turn that 40-minute wait time sometimes at a rest stop into basically a quick coffee break. I know some cars have that capability already, especially in that 10 to 65% range, like if you have a Hyundai eGMP or a Kia eGMP car. But can you imagine this on a cheaper model? It'll be so much easier to road trip. No more shivering in a parking lot, messing around with charging apps. Just show up, throw it on, charging, and you're good. And I know the Tesla people out there are already saying, well, we already have that. Well, Tesla does not charge in under 10 minutes. I can tell you that from experience. As I said, it doesn't work on all models. This is starting to be rolled out recently in China as the BYD Blade 2.0 battery comes online. But imagine having a Chinese EV like a Denza Z9 GT that's just getting released in China and Europe soon. I think they'll be in Europe very, very, very soon. And then going on a road trip with flash charging, completely game changing. What's interesting is that BYD is actually targeting to roll out a large scale deployment of flash charging or their megawatt flash charging infrastructure. They're aiming for 2,000 stations by end of 2026. I think that's a bit optimistic. Europe has a lot of the same problems as here of getting infrastructure in the ground and built, but if there's anyone that can pull it off, it could definitely be BYD. And they're planning a very similar expansion in China, where probably it's a lot easier to get equipment in the ground and up and running. Yeah, which is absolutely mind-boggling. The moment I find out where in Europe one of these sites is going in and operational, we will have something coming up on the channel. I will not leave you hanging in that regard. So now we discuss the so-called apartment or condo gap. This is an issue that plagues, if you live in a dense area of Vancouver, Toronto, or Montreal, you probably don't have a driveway to plug into. So it becomes very difficult charging your car. Do you go to a DC fast charger? Do you try to charge it at work? While Montreal does have a robust level 2 network, it does get busy at times. I've been noticing that in my area, which is why they have put in more sites at 6.2 kilowatts. but you either have to be plugged in all night, or you're having to move your car before you go to bed because your car's sitting there at 100% state of charge, and you're still getting billed the $1.10 an hour now, while your car is basically just taking up the spot. I call it the so-called urban struggle of EV charging. One solution that exists, and a lot of people talk about, especially in my circle, or I just get asked questions on, is the battery swapping. So the only company I know that's doing this, that I've seen in use myself, has been NIO. So NIO has perfected the battery swap station, where basically it's all robotic. You roll in with a completely drained out battery, and you're out in about 3 to 5 minutes with a battery swap. China exports this as a battery as a service model. It's sold on a battery leasing program. And I think it would solve a lot of the infrastructure hurdles in cities, but also areas where perhaps charging infrastructure is not as robust. And you won't have to rewire every apartment or condo building, and you won't have to get expensive infrastructure out to remote sites or sites that don't have that sort of turnover. Very interesting technology. I've seen the swap stations, the NIO swap stations in Europe. A few interesting notes. So they backfeed power from the battery packs into the grid. So they sell it back to the grid. That's very interesting. Actually, someone pointed that out. That's a very popular in Holland, where they do that. However, the biggest problem with the battery swap stations in Europe is they just haven't been able to scale anywhere near the level that NIO has done with the same swap stations in China. So these swap stations, they're all modular. They come in a few containers, and they build them all, and they basically just bolt it all together, and you're up and running within a day or two, loaded up with batteries and good. So China has about 4,000 battery swap stations, and they've done close to 100 million swaps. And as I said, each swap takes around 3 to 5 minutes to do. In one day last year, they did 17,000 battery swaps. It's just a scale problem, and I think they would face the same issue here, because NIO in Europe doesn't sell a whole lot of cars, and whenever they do sell the cars, the owners purchase the batteries with them versus doing the battery swap program. It's just a matter of scale. More cars you sell, more people, chances are, will be swapping their batteries. If not, you just have these battery swap boxes sitting there with 10, 20 batteries inside, doing absolutely nothing the entire time except charging and discharging, selling power back to the grid. In fact, NIO has actually started to install DC fast chargers at their battery swap stations, and I've seen a few. I've seen a few. They definitely do exist. What I would like to see with the battery swap stations is maybe an auto manufacturer can license out the tech and use the same style of batteries on their own cars. So you'll be able to have more sales and build out the battery swap infrastructure. I wasn't very interested in it at first, but I'm starting to warm up to the idea, and especially in more urban areas like where I live. You drive in, you swap it out, you basically, as you're driving, you order your battery in advance from the infotainment system saying, I'm going on a road trip, I want to put a 110 kilowatt hour golden brick battery in the car from my 60 kilowatt hour battery. You get there, it's ready for you, nice and charged, ready to go, drive your car in, it swaps it out. Basically just an arrive and swap type deal. And as I said, you can play around with different capacity sizes in different ways, shapes, and forms. While I was in Norway, I spoke to a few people who had NIOs. NIOs is a brand I love. They just are really, really expensive, even in Europe. And I was told battery swapping is popular with taxi drivers in Oslo, because they don't want to have any downtime. If you're there charging, you're not making any money. So the taxis are doing a lot of the battery swapping. I spoke to someone in Varberg, Sweden, who had a NIO, who had an ET5. And I asked if they're battery swapping, and his concern was he doesn't know the condition of the battery that he's getting. So what ends up happening is that there's a bit of fear there. Are you going to get a good battery? Are you going to have problems with that battery? So a lot of people just prefer to buy the battery with the car and charge it up, which I think is interesting that some people are doing that even though they have the ability to battery swap. And now we get to the sodium ion battery. And we all know it gets properly cold in Canada, especially if you live out in the prairie provinces. This is something where I noticed in my videos where I'll write, oh, it's minus 25 today, minus 30, and it's really cold. And then someone from Manitoba or Saskatchewan or Alberta writes, haha, that's not cold at all. You should come here. It's minus 1,000 Celsius in Winnipeg today. Fine, I get it, I understand. Totally get it. We all know that lithium-ion batteries really hate the cold. We all know LFP batteries also really hate the cold. Chinese firms are now starting to mass produce sodium-ion batteries. So what does this mean for charging? Well, sodium-ion cells, they discharge and their charge acceptance rates in sub-zero temperatures are a lot better than a regular lithium-ion polymer battery, even when it's minus 30 or minus 50 in Winnipeg. Not very mainstream yet. This is a developing battery tech, but it's starting to be applied to certain vehicles. The Changan Nevo A06, for example, has a sodium-ion battery, and they specifically developed that vehicle for colder climates. It does get cold in China. There are areas of China where it is as cold as Canada in the winter time. The only issue with sodium ion is they don't have the same energy density as a true lithium ion battery. So again, you get better cold weather performance, but you lose a lot of the energy density from the battery because now you're using a different chemistry, so the range issue pops up again, so now you probably need a bigger battery, and it just goes from there. But this is a developing battery tech. I think we're going to see this before a full solid state battery in an EV, only because battery tech is all about scales. How fast can you scale up the battery tech? Although there are semi-solid state batteries. I think the MG4 Urban has one, and a couple of the Neos I believe they're testing out are actually sell in China with a semi-solid state battery. So that's something that we can discuss later on. As I said, this video is just for information purposes, like what can China build in Canada. Okay, now we come to my experiences with Chinese EV charging infrastructure. And I know all the Tesla guys are sitting there just salivating, waiting to comment something in the section, because apparently I'm anti-Tesla. I mean, I don't think we've ever come across anti-Tesla on the channel. My experiences, if you've ever used InstaVolt in the UK, their sites are primarily equipped with BYD charging equipment, 160 kilowatts. It's not the prettiest, it's not the fastest, but there's a lot of it. A couple problems still remain with EV charging sites. One primary problem is actually buying the equipment. It does take a while to make, and it does take a while to put actually into the ground. Charging equipment companies, their order books are full for the next few years because orders were placed and now they're just spacing out which sites come online. That's why you'll see sites where they may have started something, but there's nothing there yet because they haven't got the charging equipment yet. A company like BYD, there's so many charging equipment providers in China. I don't even think I can do a video on all of them. I'm just speaking from my point of view, and a company that you've heard of, BYD. Well, we all know they make EVs and batteries, but they also make charging equipment. And as I said, InstaVolt is my primary experience using their equipment. I've used it. It works fantastic. It's not the fastest stuff currently. We've already covered the BYD flash charging stuff, but with the flash charging, you need serious site power, and you could augment that with either solar and having batteries to balance it all out. But, a medium speed site built along the 401, for example, or something going between Edmonton and Calgary, there's still a lot of gaps in the network here. Like if you're driving through Quebec, it's not a big deal. There's charging everywhere. I mean, I could do another 1,000 videos on Quebec EV charging infrastructure. Or if you're in a place like PEI, where there's not a lot of DC fast charging infrastructure, but it also costs a lot of money to get the energy to the site, and it costs a lot of money to supply the energy to the site. So maybe a low to medium speed site in some areas would be better than nothing. I always said I'd rather have the working 50 kilowatt charger versus a broken 300 kilowatt charger, because you can still charge your car at the end of the day. So that's one thing that would be interesting if one of the Chinese providers, instead of focusing on the speed side, although I love fast charging, like proper fast charging, I think they should maybe more focusing on just building some sort of robust network versus having nothing. Another thing I would like to see would be, as I mentioned already, the common battery swap platform. I wasn't a big fan of battery swapping until you actually start doing research into it. And then it makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. It makes a lot of sense. There are some people who don't want to stop on a road trip and wait half an hour. That's sort of becoming the industry standard, actually, is the 10 to 80% in half an hour, versus where we should always be focused on lowering charging times, because site turnover is so important, where if you could charge 6 cars on a post in an hour, it's better than charging 1 car. And this is a problem I see in Quebec, is where most people seem to be happy with 50 kilowatt, 100 kilowatt chargers and wasting 45 minutes charging. I love EVs, I love EV charging, but I don't also like to waste my time. Like if I get to a site and I'm only getting 44 kilowatts at like 3% state of charge, and I know my Fiat will hit 85 and sit there to like 45% state of charge, I start getting annoyed very quickly because I'm wasting my time, the site's not getting turned over fast enough, and it just starts going downhill from there. So I think a common battery swap platform would be cool to see if manufacturers could license that out from NEO. And in urban areas, especially where I live in a pretty dense area, it would be a lot easier just to put a battery swap box in and go from there. So I think we're going to leave it at that. This Canada-China EV partnership, maybe it shouldn't be so much about selling cars or getting manufacturing here, but it should really be looking at the tech transfer side of things and building charging infrastructure. You can't have EVs without robust charging infrastructure, and especially in a place like Canada where most of our power comes from clean energy. Quebec hydroelectric, BC hydroelectric, Ontario hydroelectric, and nuclear. Some provinces have coal. I think New Brunswick is coal, nuclear, and some hydroelectric. So yeah, it's all these different things that are going to come together. It's moving very, very quickly, but I really want to see the day where there's 2, 3, 4, 5 different charging providers coast to coast, and I don't have to rely on Tesla superchargers if I want to drive from Halifax to Vancouver. Although I think currently right now, that's probably the quickest way to do it. Just ride the Tesla superchargers. Anyways, we'll leave it at that. Hope you enjoyed watching. And thanks to everyone who does watch. Thank you to all our new subscribers. And we'll bring more information on Chinese EVs in Canada. Everyone seems to love these videos. Found my niche, perhaps. We'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.